Hi, everyone. Welcome to Menopause Chats. I am your host, Erin Daruska. Today, we are talking with Skylar Liberty Rose. So, thank you so much for being here. And tell us a little bit about yourself and how you help women.
Thank you, Erin. It is such a pleasure to connect with you today. So, I am a midlife guide and a pro aging advocate, and I help women get clear about who they are now and how they want to live. And I do that through customized ceremonies because we have so many transitions and thresholds that we go through in midlife that really don't get acknowledged or honored. And I also do that through personalized meditations, which are called touchstones. So they're designed as daily anchors that help women to stay connected to what's true for them now and what it is they want to focus on rather than all the noise that's out there, which we know is plentiful.
Yes, a lot of noise, which brings me to I was introduced to your work through the book Midlife Private Parts, where you had an essay. So, for those who don't know, it was a book curated by the ladies call themselves the Dinas. And great book, all of essays written by and for women in the sort of perimenopause, menopause plus era of their lives. And you had an essay in that. So that is where I initially was introduced to you. And I love your messaging around pro aging. And I
Thank
would really
you.
love to talk about there's a lot of noise out there.
There really is. And it's relentless. And once you kind of realize, like, tune into it in that way, you notice that it's just everywhere. So, um, yeah, part of my mission is as a pro aging advocate is to get women to explore where some of their beliefs around aging, especially visibly aging, come from, and just to get curious about, who stands to benefit from our shame at visibly aging or what our bodies look like as they're changing as we go through perimenopause and menopause or at any point in our lives. And yeah, it's quite illuminating once you start to connect the dots, and it's also quite liberating though.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like every time I open up Instagram or Facebook, I'm being marketed either something for weight loss
Right.
or something for my neck or, although yesterday I just posted because I'm still getting pimples. And I was like, pick a lane skin. It's either wrinkles or pimples. Like, I should not be getting both at the same time. Like, just pick one and I'll stick with it. But, like, does
Literally.
not seem right that I should have to deal with both at the same time. But I do
This
feel like there's,
hormonal upheaval in
right?
midlife is wild. It's
Yeah.
just wild because
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, wait a minute, you know you're not a teenager anymore, but yet you're having some of those kind of like moments of, yeah, like you say, it's like, wait, am I back in puberty? Is this what this is? So it can be quite
Yeah.
destabilizing to
And my
say the
favorite,
least.
random cheek hair. Like, just what, where literally not there. And then the next day it's there.
Yeah. Yeah. Welcome to midlife.
I know, I know. And I think what I'm liking now, because I am seeing this as well, and you're certainly talking about this in your social media channels around the lies we were fed growing up as Gen X women,
Right.
around the ideal body type, what you should be doing. And, I honestly I think I started my first diet at 12,
Right.
and a constant sort of struggle from there. But now starting to, as in my midlife, like unpacking that and being like, well, wait a second. And then also being a little bit upset with myself for having wasted so many years trying to
Mm,
be a shape I am not meant to be. Because
right.
that is what I was shown is like, this is the ideal. This is what's attractive. This is what, this is where your value is, right?
Absolutely. Right. Because as young girls, we're taught that beauty is a currency and that's what's most important. And so many of us, really, from gosh, such a tender age, like around puberty, we start to become objectified. Not that we realize that's what's happening at the time, because we're so focused on seeking acceptance, seeking approval, that that's really where our energy goes.
They were trying to fit
We don't,
in.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. And I mean, that's just a natural human trait to want to get that, approval and acceptance. So I think it's really important when we have these illuminations later in life and we do start to connect the dots about where our beliefs came from and who benefits from us believing certain things. I think it's really important that we do it through a lens of compassion, of self-compassion, because I mean, I think so many of us can look back and think, my goodness, did I really need to be, dieting all those years? Did I need to be tearing my reflection to pieces? Did I need to be centering the male gaze in everything I did? And what could I have done? Who might I have been if I had invested my energy in different ways? But it's really hard when the dominant narrative and the popular culture is telling you this is what matters, this is who you need to be, this is how you need to look, to separate yourself from that, which is to separate yourself really from the herd, which, as we know, is, that feels really daunting. That's not what we're wired to do. So I think if we can be as kind and compassionate towards ourselves as possible, that really helps, because now if we know better we can do better. But we weren't at fault for not knowing before. We were too young.
Yeah. And now I don't have really any young women in my life, but I do worry about what they're seeing now where things aren't even literally are not even real. So now you're
Exactly.
comparing yourself to, when we were coming up, it was the comparing yourself to, yes, things were photoshopped and edited and things like that, but which we didn't always know. I think, that was
Right.
coming out a little bit in the like mid to late 90s. But now seeing it's like these aren't even real human images. These aren't even
Yeah.
real humans that now
Yeah.
people are comparing themselves to. And I
Yeah.
my heart breaks a little bit around that.
Yeah, and I think every generation has their kind of struggle in that regard. I mean, for us, it was the magazines, right? I remember so clearly. I grew up in London. I didn't move to the US till I turned 40, but I imagine that it wasn't too different here. And the magazines used to, I kid you not, like circle in red things like cellulite or, tummy, like pooches or whatever derogatory names they'd give to body parts. And yeah, highlighted so that there'll be a picture of a celebrity on a beach, but then they wouldn't just post the like unflattering image. They would circle it and zoom in on it. And then, that would be splashed all over the page. So as a young person, you're seeing this and you're absorbing it and thinking, well, that's bad. Obviously, I can't look like that. And yeah, that was our struggle. And
Mhm.
now, as you say, it's like, well, is this computer generated? Is this an artificial? Is this a person? Like, and you don't know. So I think I worry for, and I like to be somebody who stays in the space of hope, not in the space of doom and
Yeah,
gloom.
same.
But I do worry for future, well, for the generation that is most sort of exposed to this now, like our young people. What does it look like for them in 20, 30 years when they're processing their childhoods, and we can't know that yet. So I think, again, lots of compassion, lots of vigilance, and pushing back on these narratives. I think it's important for us as midlife women and for the women who will come after us. And I'm not a parent, I don't have children of my own, but I still feel that each of us gets to contribute to the legacy that we leave. And so I'm always mindful of, how I can do that.
Yeah, and I'm same. I don't have children either, and that's why I was like, I don't really have a lot of young people in my life, but
Right.
I do kind of, like I said, I get kind of am concerned of like what are they seeing and how is that impacting their mental health, and so yeah, there has to be a better way out there for people, and it's like unfortunate that it's
Yeah.
not until you're 40 plus that you start to go, oh, wait a second, was this stuff that I saw real?
I know, right? I know. I also have the wisdom, the knowledge, the
Right.
experience that I have now at like 52, back when I really needed it in my 20s. But
Yeah.
we still have time, right? None of us know exactly how much time we have ahead, but I'm like, well, the illumination comes when it comes, and then, as I say, we know better, we do better, and we get to shape the culture that we're living in now. And again, yeah, for those who are coming up after us.
Yeah, and it's always this for me, it is a struggle of like, I always hold the two perspectives, right? It's like, oh, I know this isn't real. And then it's deeply ingrained from, from I say childhood, but adolescence at least.
For
I
sure.
think it's like dieting at 12 and then on and off diets almost my entire
Yeah,
life.
same.
Even through into my 40s, and even now my weight's up a little bit and I'm like struggling of like, do I just accept that like maybe this is the size my body's supposed to be that I've been
Right.
fighting for so long all of my life? I've never, I joke that I came out of the womb a size 10, a US size 10. And and then having never had a thigh gap, don't definitely spent some time with the thigh masters from Suzanne Summers when I was younger, and without any real sort of result, or trying to get flat abs because again did not is not my body type. And I did have
Right.
a good trainer at 20, like in my 20s. I'm not at 20, but like in my 20s, who said, well, let's look at it. Like, tell me about your mom and grandmother's bodies. Like, tell me, about your body growing up and what it looked like. And so she was like, listen, I'm not going to tell you you can't have flat abs, but to do that, you're going to have to essentially eat a very strict diet and you're going to need to work out a lot. Two things I was not willing to do. So
Good for
trying
you though.
trying to make, you know, I guess amends with my body and being like, all right, this is the body that I have. I named it. I named my little stomach Shirley. No offense to anyone named Shirley, but that was what I chose and was like, this is, I'm just going to embrace this
Yeah.
because it's literally, I joke, like it's always been there for me. Thick and thin, been there. It's like it never doesn't matter how much smaller I am or larger I am, it will not be a flat stomach, probably without a surgical intervention, which again, I'm not willing
Right.
to do. And
Right.
if there are people who are willing to do that and want to do that, I don't judge. That's your own personal decision, but that's not for me.
Yeah. I mean, I always like to say that I challenge the culture rather than criticize the individual.
Yeah.
I do think that I think we've kind of walked ourselves back to a point though at the moment where we're so afraid to say anything that might be construed as criticism that sometimes we're just not saying anything at all. And I think, we're seeing some really scary stuff
Yeah.
out there in the celebrity world. And I know sometimes people like celebrities are not real life, but they
Still people, they're still real humans.
exactly. And they're a kind of reference point that so many of us can like universally like point to and just, like there's a shared understanding. And I think with the rising popularity of GLP-1s, and again, like you, I'm not interested in shaming people who make choices to use them. It's a conversation between you and your doctor. But I think it's also okay to just look more broadly about this current like resurgence of not that it's ever really gone away, but diet culture obsession, which I think unsurprisingly, really intersects with anti aging culture. And it's all about control of our bodies, about having us focus on our appearance in a way that doesn't feel energizing or uplifting to most of us. It's not about embodying or feeling grounded and anchored in our lives. It's really about going back to those early values that we soaked up about beauty being a currency. And when you're objectified from puberty onwards, from adolescence onwards, we don't always separate our sense of self-worth from our appearance. And that can, I mean, I had comments on a recent social media post from somebody who was saying, I think it was their mother who was, I don't know if she was in her 80s or something, and still struggling with the idea that her body was too big. And I just thought, oh my goodness, where does this end? Because you think you outgrow these
Right.
like body hang-ups and self-criticism. And unless you really approach it intentionally and try to redirect that negative self-talk when it comes up, you could end up being your whole life just feeling like you're not good enough or you don't measure up in the way that you're supposed to. And I want more for us than that. We deserve more.
Yeah, that's I I feel that, right? It's like, oh, I don't want to be that 80-year-old who's still,
Right.
complaining about Shirley. And so I'm trying to redirect my own fitness and lifestyle around, okay, moderate everything in moderation, working out not for a calorie deficit so I can eat more because I spent a lot of time doing that. I remember when I met my husband, I used to run, and I remember a friend of him was like, "Oh, you're a big runner. You love running." I was like, "No, I like to eat." Like, it wasn't that I loved running. I just liked a good burger and fries. Um,
Right.
but the idea too of like now I want to age in a way that I can be independent, that I can still lift things for
Yeah.
myself, that I still have the balance to, walk on a cobblestone street if I come
Right.
across one without falling over. So now for me, it's more about that functional fitness, not the
Yeah.
aesthetic body look, but like I want to be stronger so that I can go do the things I want as I get older. Um,
Yeah. Which is completely different. And
yeah,
yeah, you're not chasing an ideal, you're thinking about how you want to live and what your quality of life looks like. And I think that, that's absolutely fine. I mean, it's not that we can't be invested in our health. It's just we might want to divest from the cultures that are telling us we're not good enough, which is a very different lens to look through.
yeah. And I see a lot, at least in my social media around the idea of like who runs the culture, right? Like who's controlling the narrative out there. And, if you are distracting women in particular, but also it happens with men, if you're distracting people with focusing on their bodies and how they look and trying to be other things, they're not focusing on the other stuff.
Right.
So then their
Yeah.
energy is, focused on essentially being controlled by a narrative versus
Yeah.
maybe fighting that narrative,
Yeah.
you know?
Exactly. And I think because of the way, we live in a capitalist world. And so, although I don't think money is inherently bad, the machine needs to keep going, right? And so, I mean, the beauty industry is billions of dollars, like the diet culture industry, like, same. So, there's good reasons why we have this narrative reinforced by repetition, because if we buy into it, like literally buy into it, we keep these industries afloat. And so again, I mean, I'm not immune to it. I grew up with the same conditioning as everybody else or most other people, especially women. And I have to, it's like a daily commitment, an
Yeah.
ongoing commitment for me to not spiral in self doubt or low self esteem as I did for so many years. And choose to redirect and reframe and get curious about, where does that belief come from? That's interesting that I am looking in the mirror right now and being really critical because I have sagging skin here under my chin or like pretty much everywhere else. And I just kind of start to get curious about, is this belief mine? Do I really believe what I'm telling myself in this moment, or is this just something that I've heard on repeat and seen on repeat over the years?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's sort of the work I explore with myself as well. Like, oh, what is this? Or like, oh, I should have put more sunblock on my chest when I was younger.
Oh,
I
yeah,
did a really good
I've
job
had
on
that
my face, not so
conversation.
much on my hands.
But the thing is, I mean, I don't know if it was the same for you, but again, I'm 52 now. So, you know, 80, well, not so much in the 80s, but in the 90s and early 2000s, I was worshipping the sun and I didn't even tan particularly well, but I would try and I would go to the
The
tanning
tanning bed.
salons and use the
I know.
sunbeds. And so
Same.
of course. I see, like, I have, like, the evidence of that all
Yeah.
over my body, really, and especially this area. So I do sometimes have those thoughts like, oh God, if only I'd known. Like, because,
I
now
did
people
tell
are
some young
slathering
girls
themselves in
there
sunblock.
was I used to live in California and we lived on a street that had a lot of children. And so there were some young girls that she really liked our dog. So she would stop and talk. And she was probably like a 10 or 11 years old. And they were very fair skinned like I am. And I said to little girls, I'm like, make sure you wear your sunblock. Because she was complaining like their mom told her to put sunblock on and was like, trust me. I was like, put yours. And I was like, she's probably thinking,
Please.
okay, lady. And I was like, I hope someday she looks back on this and be like, I had a neighbor once who told me to wear sunblock. But I was just like,
You
yeah,
never know.
things that I would have known when I was younger. But yeah, it's such a it is a daily, as you were saying, it's like a daily conversation you have, at least I have with
Yeah.
myself around like, do I want to believe in this? Do I want, and it's
Yeah.
in there are days where I might be a little harder on myself about it than others.
Yeah.
There's some days where I'm like, F this, and then other days where I'm just like, like,
Yeah.
can
And I
I
think
do
that's
something about, is there a
normal.
cream?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely when you have those little daydreams, and I'm like, well, if I had a fund for this, because, some people do, they literally have like a plastic surgery fund or a, like tweakment fund or whatever. Um, if I had that, and if I had the absolute certainty that nothing could go wrong, and I wasn't going to like not come around from anesthesia or something, would I do it? If I could click my fingers and just change this, would I? And I kind of like explore that, like that fantasy world with
Yeah.
myself. And yes, of course it's tempting, but I I always like to believe that I would come back to, but who would it be for? Whose
Yeah.
benefit would it be for? And why have we been convinced that the literal act of staying alive is something we should be ashamed of?
Right.
And I mean, there's so many layers to it, so many intersections, but I think most of us, if not all of us, have lost somebody we love and who has passed before their time, or at their time even, and who we'd give anything to have back in our lives. We're so privileged to still be here. And if part of the trade-off of that is that my skin doesn't look like a 20-year-old, because guess what, that was 3 decades ago and I'm not supposed to look like that anymore. If part of the trade-off is that I have sunspots or cellulite, or my skin is sagging and I have these jowls and all the things, then I want to find a way to, if not embrace it, at least accept it or not fight it, because I don't know if I've got another year, 5 years, like hopefully longer than that, hopefully many more years. But I know I don't want to ever be at a point where I'm looking back and thinking, damn, I wish I just liberated myself from all these ridiculous expectations that don't serve any of us. I wish that I just embraced, my life and seized as many moments as I could. And so that's what really governs me, and that sovereignty feeling, like I want to step into my sovereignty. I may have wasted years or spent years absorbing beliefs that weren't kind or compassionate, but I don't have to do that going forward. I can choose to believe different things, and I can choose to celebrate myself in a way that I didn't. And when I do that, my 20-year-old something, my teen something, gets that wave of healing, because they're still in us, right? We still carry those versions of ourselves around with us. And so I think what a beautiful gift to give that past version, or those past versions of myself, that I couldn't do this for you now, but I can do this for you then, but I can do it for you now. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I love that idea too of like sort of that, healing yourself, from the from your past, right? Like I do journeying and things like that. And so one of the things that in that, I had one where I was like literally talking to the younger version of myself. And in that too is just like, hey, listen, and you probably can relate, having curly hair, growing up with curly hair, not popular choice. And so many, it was the thing that one of the things that I got made fun of the most as, growing up as a child. Because again, I mean, maybe not as a young child, because I think as a kid, like as a little girl, it's like the Shirley Temple, like people are like, oh, it's cute. But then as a teenager,
Right.
it's like everybody had the straight hair, and that is not,
Yeah.
I, I don't have I never have had the patience to straighten my hair and like the upkeep for that. So I've always kept it curly. And now it's the thing that I get complimented on the most.
Right.
So, it's like saying like, hey, it gets better, right? Like, so I remember in that journey saying like, like the thing that you were made fun of at this age, like is the thing you get complimented on now the most as an adult.
Yes.
And it's
Same.
so funny how
Yeah.
that just sort of swings around where you're like, where were you people 30,
Yeah.
40 years ago?
But it just shows you as well, I think, Erin, how it's also transient, like this popular culture that we're aware of now, like, I mean, it shifts. And so if you look back, like before we were born, like different body types were
Yeah.
celebrated. And so it's this is just what we're like, focusing on at the moment, and it can change. And so it's even more reason just to lovingly accept ourselves, because none of it is real.
Yeah.
Like, none of what's just happens to be a trend. I mean, it's just a passing thing. It's certainly not a marker of how much we're worth or how lovable we are or anything like that.
Well, yeah, and you bring up a good point if you look at art, right? Like, so Renaissance art, like in
Yeah.
women back then, it's like, oh, it was celebrated to be, bigger and to have fat rolls and bellies because it
Yeah.
meant you were prospering, that you had money, you had the
Yes.
ability to eat,
Exactly.
and then it sort of
Exactly.
swings around again. And now it's this
Yeah.
whole um almost prepubescent culture, that like body type that we're seeing out there, which, was around in the 90s as well with that like a lot
Yeah.
of heroin chic back then. So,
Yeah.
a little bit different. And I remember, gosh, I met like, even talking about grooming standards, right? And the Brazilian wax is a popular thing. And I remember when I met my husband, he was like, "Oh, like don't ever do that," which is fine because I was never planning on it. But he's like, "Don't ever do that." He's like, "It's a little weird to me because it seems like," and that was the first time that I ever thought about the fact that it was like, "Oh, yeah, that's like it's very prepubescent." Like it just never occurred
Right.
to me.
Right.
I just didn't want to go through the pain, quite frankly.
Same. Same. Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I just was like, oh, I just never put two and two together. So I credit him for, for his, saying like, yeah, I'm not into that. So,
Right. And yeah, I mean, I don't even remember when I first kind of had that awakening that actually shaving the hair under our arms and on our legs and anywhere else is actually like you said, a little bit weird. Like, where does that come from? And so yeah, it is quite something to start to connect those dots and realize what we bought into all of these years and what we might choose to opt out of now. And again, I don't think shame is a useful tool for
right.
any of us. So if I mean, I stopped coloring my hair a year ago, and it's been a difficult journey because I'm like, it's so dark. I want the gray to come through, but it's not coming through enough yet. And I haven't been this dark in like 20, 30 years even. So it's uncomfortable for me. I still wear makeup, and not as much as I used to, but I still do. I'm still not completely divorced from the beauty standards that I absorbed for so many years. And so I still shave my legs. I still shave under my arms. So it's like, oh, am I a bad feminist because I'm buying into some of this? But if nothing else, I'm having a lot more honest conversations with myself about again, why I'm doing these things, what's prompting them. As is this action stemming from a space of shame or something else? And so there's this commentary in my head like most of the time where sometimes I have to be like, okay, you just switch off from it a little bit now. But I think it's good. It feels good to just to probe and explore. Again, I keep saying curiosity and compassion, but I think it's so important because we didn't do anything wrong just by absorbing the narrative at the time. It's what we just sort of get sucked into, I think. And so yeah, it's fine to just have these questions now and sit with them in a way that feels a little less like criticism and a little more like, ah, that's something that I can get curious about. That's interesting. And yeah, just see what comes up in that space.
Yeah, and I was just having a conversation with a girlfriend about that of like, do we let our hair go or not? It's just she's like, I'm embracing it, I'm doing it, and I'm like, I'm not there yet. I was like, I mean, I've been coloring my hair for 30 years, so I'm like, I'm not a natural redhead. It just works with my coloring, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm not ready yet. So it's
And
like
you might not be.
yeah, I was like, and I remember
Yeah,
I had an aunt that like dyed her hair until the day she died. So it's like, all
right.
right,
Yeah,
but it's like I
yeah.
like this color and I still like it, and I'm like I feel like the gray might do the same thing to my skin that my natural color did, and so it's like, you know what? I'm just gonna for now, this is what works.
Exactly. And yeah, and I think I do. very much believe in individual choice. And like I say, I really try to challenge the culture. So as long as we're not constantly engaged in behaviors that we are only doing from a space of shame,
Yeah.
then, like we do get to have fun and enjoy, life and clothes and makeup. It's not that I hope nobody ever feels like they have to step away from these things that might bring them pleasure or joy or help them feel good. But, just again, getting curious about like, why does that make me feel good? Why do I think this is a flattering angle or
Mhm.
this is a good light or all the other things that we kind of maybe just don't even like, take time to ponder. I think it's, yeah, again, it's just, we all have our own awakenings and, in our own ways. So that's fine.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for the conversation today. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you're like, oh, I wanted to say this?
Oh no, I just want to keep talking because this is really enjoyable. I feel like I'm just meeting a friend for a good old natter, as we say in England. But no, yeah, this has just been, it's just felt really validating. And I love the way that it feels to me, Erin, that your style is, yeah, definitely one that's non-judgmental, but you do have that curiosity. And I think that, yeah, it's just, I find it really nourishing to have these kinds of conversations. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, thank you for being here. And if people wanted to learn more about your ceremonies and meditations, how can they get in touch with you?
Through my website, which is my name, skylarlibertyrose.com. And I took a break from Instagram, but I'm back there again, just, a couple of times a week. And again, that's my name, Skylar Liberty Rose on Instagram.
Awesome. And I'll put that in the show notes too. So if people
Thank you,
just
Erin.
want to click on it, they can. So anyway,
Thank you
well,
so much.
yeah, thank you. And thanks for listening. So please like, subscribe, help spread the word about Menopause Chats. And until next time.